Kermit Lynch helped America discover real wine, and at 83, he's still going and defending its soul from the lab coat takeover. That's an interesting story. Great wines, real wines, under $30. It's a thing, and smoke-tainted, well, it might not be a problem anymore. Science, the lab coat guys, they got something for it. Let's see. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Welcome to episode 68 of This Week Uncorked for November 3rd, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey. We are your number one source for corkage fees. We also have winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and more. That's all over at corkandjourney.com. Now let's get into this week's wine news, shall we? Well, over at Wine Spectator, journalist Robert Camuto sits down in Provence with Kermit Lynch for over 2 lunches. It's a part 1 and a part 2, an extremely long interview looking back at Kermit Lynch's life and, everything he's done. And anyway, he's 83 now, quasi-retired from his own company there, but he just wrote a novel. And it's supposed to be like somewhere between A Good Year and Sideways is some of the reviews I've read. I've ordered the novel. It should be here in a week. I can't wait to read it. But it's basically based on his real life experiences, bopping all over Europe, finding some amazing wine deals, bringing them back to his shop in Berkeley, and eventually becoming one of the biggest importers and then sellers of wines from Italy, Spain, and France in the U.S. He does some really, really, really interesting stuff, and I'll talk about one of those in a minute. But the article is kind of interesting. He's pissed at what's going on in the wine world. He's railing against what he calls sterile winemaking and the dominance of enologists, that are using basically the same yeast and the same barrels and the same everything. He thinks that, it should be more organic process. On the other hand, wine has improved so tremendously. So I'm not sure if I agree with him 100%, but he is Kermit Lynch, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Here, I'll just throw some quotes from this because it's a long article. So I chose 2 quotes from part 1 and 2 quotes from part 2, talking about his book. I wanted some of that feeling in my book, this attitude that wine as joy and a blessing. Harmony is important. And individuality. I look for a wine that smells and tastes like wine. When you start doing new oak, you no longer have the taste of wine. Now the enologist is king. They use the same yeast, the same methods, the same everything. There's no individuality in those wines. The fine wine drinking community will not wither before mere price changes. Sometimes prices go up, sometimes they go down. The important thing is to dine well. It's just the best line ever. I want to get a t-shirt. The important thing is to dine well. So you can kind of guess what the questions were around this. Oh my gosh, the price is too high. No. I don't like sterile winemaking. He clearly doesn't like oak. I think that's interesting. I think that's really interesting. I love oak. Not too much, but just a little. Can be a good thing. Him and Robert Parker would not get along. Not at all. Great article. Give yourself an hour or so. Sit down. Wine Spectator Part 1, 2. It's available online. If you get their magazine, it's in there as well. Might all be in one thing. I haven't checked the latest magazine out yet to see if it's all in one piece. And moving on, the San Francisco Chronicle has an article about no one is making more exciting sub-$25 California wines than this winemaker. This is a profile of Kenny Liquiprocon. Anyway, you can see it there. He is the enologist. He's the winemaker behind Hobo, Folk Machine, Camp, Edith and Ida, Ghost Rider. He does all of these. He's got just a ton of different labels, ton of different wines he's working on. He works out of a 100-year-old warehouse in Santa Rosa, and he built his reputation from crafting some really high-quality wines, and he does them for under $25, which is so rare for a California wine to come in at that price. Speaking of Kermit Lynch, this is the Canteen Valpine. This is Barbera. And this is $16 a bottle. $16. That's delivered to your house. If you buy a case, shipping's waived on it. A wonderful Barbera. Again, this is the kind of stuff from Europe and just pure wine. I mean, there's no no, this is just natural winemaking, good stuff. So kind of wanted to tie that in there, that if you go over to his website, again, not a sponsor, you can sample some amazing wines for cheap. You can just go buy a case of 12 different wines, probably cost you less than $200, $250. Got some great wines to try and see what you like. From the article, the gentleman, whose name I cannot pronounce, has consistently been at the forefront of trends, dialing back alcohol levels, seeking out under-the-radar grape varieties, and experimenting with oxidative white winemaking before these things became de rigueur for a certain set of California winemakers. But if there's anything he should be known for, it's his unyielding commitment to keep wines affordable. It's hard to name a winemaker making a more exciting lineup of sub-$25 California wines. I have not tried his wines, but I am going to try his wines because, you need your daily drinkers. And, to $150, $75 daily drinkers, that'll kind of wear you out. So anyway, I will give that a try. And then tying right into that, Wine Business has announced that Charles Smith, he has House of Smith. He is also one of these really interesting winemakers doing a lot of really different things. He's a Washington and Oregon producer, and he launched a brand new wine. It's called Real Wine, where it's also under $25 or under $30. It's $19.99, and it's Real Wine, and he's on a mission to have truth in labeling. And so, again, we've got a guy making real wine. What do we mean by that? No mega purple, no additives, other maybe a little sulfite, which everybody has. But I mean, there's just so many wines are so manipulated, they don't even taste like wine. There's so many chemicals, so many flavors, so many sweeteners, it's just crazy, the stuff that can get added into some of these wines. So it's like, hey, there's this pure wine. Ridge has been doing this forever. If you've ever got a bottle of Ridge, you go way back, and it just tells you grapes, sulfite, yeast. That's it. Put it in a barrel, it happened. That's all by the way, you need, to take some grapes. And anyway. So from the article, Real Wine is more than a product, it's a movement. With this launch, Charles continues his 25-year crusade for purity in the bottle, truth on the label, and wine for the moment. Real is the answer for consumers who want to know what's in their wine, and a call to action for wine companies to list all ingredients on the package. What makes real truly real? Just grapes and minimal sulfites. Ingredients are clearly listed on the label. Sustainably farmed, native fermented, gluten-free, no synthetic chemicals, no adjuncts, just wine. $19.99. That is crazy. My guess is going to be in supermarkets. I don't know. But most wine you see at that price at a supermarket is so heavily manipulated with chemicals and adjuncts and additives and all kinds of things because they're looking for that consistency across the board. When you're going to put a wine out that's you're just making it like wine should be made, it's not going to be that consistent from year to year. It's going to change. And people don't like that. I mean, a lot of people, they just want their supermarket wine taste the same every single time they buy it. And man, you've got to go through a lot of work to make wine taste the same every vintage, every year across the board. You got to manipulate the what out of it. So anyway, shout out to Charles Smith, and also a shout out to that other gentleman whose name I cannot pronounce. I tried, just not happening. All right, we're going to wrap up the news with bacteria could help fix the smoky taste of wildfire-tainted wine. This is over at fizz.org, and scientists have identified a strain of bacteria called Gordonia alcanvorians living naturally on grapevines that can break down the element that causes smoky or ashy that taste in wine. So you got a big forest fire, smoke settles into the vineyards, they get that really, really smoky taste. We talked about this. I've talked about it before. Romby Wines up in Carmel Valley. We've got a review of the winery on there. Great winery, wonderful people. Sal Romby's great. But he had a wine that he decided, you know what, I'm bottling it anyway. I don't care. It was his 2016 Cabernet Sauvignon. So much smoke taint. It tasted peaty. It was almost like a scotch. Went great with a cigar. Just an odd wine. But most winemakers, they're not after that. They would, oftentimes that's it. The wine, they just let the grapes rot on the vine. Nothing they can do about it. They can't get smoke taint out. Well, now the white lab coats that Kermit Lynch has such disdain for have maybe come up with an answer. From the article, Wildfires are occurring increasingly often in the wine-producing regions of the U.S. West Coast. Wine grapes can absorb substances from wildfire smoke that ultimately make their way into the bottle, resulting in a smoky, ashy-tasting pour. Prior research has shown that one such substance, glycol, can be broken down by certain species of bacteria living in the soil, raising the possibility that bacterial metabolic process could be harnessed to help fix the taste of smoke-tainted wines. Okay, we'll see. Maybe, but they're taking a swag at it. It would certainly save. Again, though, you're doing some really, really interesting things to the wine, manipulating it to get rid of the smoke tank. It's like, my gosh, what they have to go through to make non-alcoholic wine. It's not even wine. But man, it could save some people a lot of money if they're able to salvage an entire harvest because the smoke settled down over their vineyards during harvest just before and ruined them. So we'll see what comes of that. And with that, let's get to our wine and winery of the week. All right, we're in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and we're going to go to Domaine Télégraphe. I also have a wine called Telegram. This is their Telegraph. This is their higher-end wine. Runs for around $150, $200 a bottle, depending on vintage, what you're getting. This is 2020. It's just a straight-up beautiful GSM. They are one of the top producers, and we were just fortunate enough that their winery was basically walking distance from our Airbnb, and there also happened to be one of my favorite wines, so it was just very, very cool. They were going through a whole lot. Harvest was kicking in. There was a lot rocking going on there, but we managed to go in and have a really lovely tasting, very small, intimate tasting room, some scenic views outside, but there was so much machinery and so much stuff going on. But man, I mean, just you can't go wrong. They're very famous in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and they should be. They basically are family run for over a century. The Brunner dynasty continues. Daughter of the current, was the lady that served us in the tasting room. She was lovely. The brother was outside leading the crew. This is family run. And for as big as they are, and for as much wine as they produce, a lot of restaurants, you'll find it on the wine list. It's exported all over the place. So good wine. Again, you're in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Check it out. And with that, we're going to move on to our wine of the week, which is the Chapoutier Châteauneuf-du-Pape La Bernardine. Anyway, this is a 92 points. This is another GSM, Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre, whatever you want to call it. $80 is the price point on it. Good wine. Black cherry, licorice, warm spice. You cannot go wrong. If you are into GSMs, you just know. You open one, you taste it, and you go, damn, that's good. Most of them, they're Grenache heavy, leading with the Grenache and then the Syrah and then the Mourvèdre, and there you go. But depending on that blend, depending on the year, depending on the harvest, it can be some of the most drinkable, lovely wine that you will ever have. As you, for watching this show, So this is a good $80, 92 points. You probably get a little better on that, but who knows? This is 2021 vintage. Got to try some others. So pretty good stuff. And with that, let's get on to our restaurant and corkage of the week. All right. This is Mère Germaine in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. There's two. There is the smaller one, Les Comptoir, I want to say, de la Mère. And that is the one we're reviewing here. And there's another one we're going to do, which is their Michelin star one, which sits in a beautiful hotel. So they've kind of got the two. Châteauneuf-du-Pape is a very small town when you start to walk around it. So this was a really interesting restaurant. The food was very good. We ran into several issues while we were here. I had a shrimp served to me that was raw, which was a mistake. And the chef was mortified. And then even more mortifying, Tina got a dish and dug in, and there was a nice long piece of Brillo pad that had come unraveled and basically a piece of metal in there. And she took it and got bite it into some metal. So, it didn't start off so well, kind of put it on a whole, downward spiral. They only charged us for the wine. They didn't charge us for any of the food. But would I give it another shot? Yes, I definitely would give it a shot. Lovely restaurant. I think the food could be amazing. I think we just got them on a really bad day. There was a lot of hostility going on in the kitchen. You know, you can have that. And they're having a real service problem over in Europe. You read about it, mention it, and it's hard. They're having hard time finding the right people. And of course, no corkage fee because it's France. What are you going to say? I'm told though, if you're a local and you know everybody, they can kind of bring your own wine in and they'll charge you $10 or something. But not for us Americans. No, not going to happen. Anyway, with that, we are going to wrap up yet another episode of Cork and Journey. I so much appreciate you watching the show. We would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app and follow us on your favorite social media application. Until next week, everyone, cheers. Oh, and check out that interview down below, speaking of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, with Remy Jean from Châteauneuf.